Hi. Oh, there's already people here. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Oh, somebody also has cabin fever. Hi, Whitney. Hi, Jeffrey. Yoga, breathing, and wellness with Anna. Hi. Hi, Mary. It's good to see everybody. Can you all hear me okay? My microphone sometimes just gets confused, but I'm glad everybody's here. What was I going to say? Oh, I saw the yoga, breathing, and wellness. I'm on the very last day of Yoga with Adrian's 30-day yoga journey, and it's been really wonderful. So, hi, everybody. Yes, it is some in Fort Worth, and schools have been canceled. Oh, cool. Lisa's listening while grocery shopping. That's awesome. Hi, Mikey boy. Hi. Yeah, now it's really feeling like I don't know when the last time I did a live was. I was inspired by Claire from Woodshed Theory. So she got hey Team K Productions. Claire hit 5K subscribers. There's Beltray. This week. Look at he wants to come. Come here, bud. Come here. Put your little face in there. He's got on a little bandana. Okay, so Beltray has been on a journey. First of all, some of you have heard this story a million times, but my daughter was 3 when she named him. She had a temporary obsession with the Texas Rangers, the baseball team, and one of the players is named Adrian Beltre. And so she insisted that we name him Beltre and then completely forgot about who the Texas Rangers are and doesn't care at all anymore. So now we have a cat with a weird name, and I call him Belts, which doesn't make any sense, but he's my cat and I love him. So he's got a bandana on because he's been so stressed. He's been to the vet twice this month. Come here, I'm talking about you. And I tried this Fellaway stuff. It's like a cat pheromone spray. Let's see if I can move this down so y'all can see him. Nope, doesn't work. I can't go down far enough. Oh, but you're so cute. I wish everybody could see how cute you are. Oh. He's the sweetest boy. Oh my gosh. I wish we could just keep the camera on him. Okay, so Fellaway's like this cat pheromone spray that's supposed to de-stress them, so I've been spraying it on his bandana. Yeah, he's the cutest. He's like so sweet. He's my emotional support animal. He's always with me. Yes, and you like lives. You're good at lives. You're very you look good on camera. What can I say? He's very camera-genic. That's not a word. Yeah, he's the cutest. Hey everybody, there's so many cool people here. So, okay, my brain's all over the place. Hey Gemma. Let Belts take over the live. Yeah, just close up on him. Okay, so I'm in Fort Worth. I took my kids to school on Monday. And Molly, my oldest, Molly, she's 9. And I have a younger son, Cooper, he's 6. And Molly always likes to go first because let's just say Cooper has his own rhythm and his own speed. And so Molly gets out of the car and she heads up to school because I park in the parking lot and then they walk across. And then I'm trying to get Cooper out of the car. And Molly walks back to the car and she's like, the teachers told me to come back. And I'm looking over and the teachers are like, go home, go home. So school was canceled on Monday morning because, okay, so in Texas, it really is dire. Okay, like I know people make fun of it, but the roads are covered in ice, like covered. It's not snow, it's like ice. And we don't have the infrastructure to like deal with it. So that started coming in on Monday. I got more accumulation today, and then tomorrow is supposed to be the most of all the accumulation. So we are legit like stuck here, can't get out on the roads, and like in order to leave my house, I have to cross a bridge. No. There are dangerous stories that I could tell you, but I won't because I don't want to trigger anybody. But it's very intense here in Texas. Me and the kids are safe, and we've just been, they're currently in, hey, Subian. One of our rooms, we just built a fort in it, and there's blankets everywhere, and they're in there playing. And I'm trying to do what I can, because it's not like they went out and played in it a little bit, but it's like ice, you know. So I'm like, don't go on the driveway, don't go on the sidewalk. We can't get to the doctor if anything happens. So it's not fun to play in. It's just like crunchy and slippery ice. I love all the love here. I love that people are just like knowing each other. I'm reading some of the comments. Oh yeah, I forgot that I had that trailer on before the video, so I hope that was a little bit of heavy information. It was about the fight or flight, like trauma responses, so fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We can talk about that in a second if we want to. Am I at risk of losing electricity, heat? No. I mean, it did happen pretty bad in 2020, but the temperatures aren't as low as, like, it's cold, but it's not as cold as it was when Texas had that huge power outage a couple years ago. So I think it feels like 14. So that's really cold. But when we had all those power outages, it was like negative temperatures. And hopefully we've learned something, right? Hopefully the electrical companies have learned something. But I'm not really worried about that. I made a big old pot of chicken noodle soup yesterday, and I'm not going to lie, I make really good chicken noodle soup. So we've been kind of living on that. Whitney said you had a 2-hour delay this morning. Yeah, who else is experiencing weather? Okay, Little Alien says it snowed. Yeah, we're staying safe, but yeah, it is serious. Like it's not like, oh, Texans can't handle the weather. It's like if I were to get out in my car, I would run into another car. Like it's really serious. It was icy in Vegas this morning. Wow. Little Alien says, can you believe Mean Girls is almost 20 years old? No. That's fetch. Even Minnesotans don't do ice well. Yeah, my best friend lives in Wisconsin, and I've been to Minnesota. And she used to live in Texas, and she's like, it's just a different kind of cold, and Wisconsin is totally different. I remember when I went to go visit her in Wisconsin for the first time years ago, and we were driving around, and I was like, why do your fire hydrants have poles attached to them? And she was like, that's so we can find them when they're completely covered up by snow. So yeah, we don't experience that. Like we have a 1/4 of an inch of ice, but it's significant. And it's not going to get above freezing until Thursday or Friday. Hey Jessica, you're new here in the last few weeks. Thank you, YouTube algorithm, for leading me to Taylor's videos. That's so funny because I do get comments from people saying like I had no intention of watching any video related to autism, but YouTube kept suggesting this video to me. So who knows? The algorithm is so weird and strange and a little concerning, but I'm glad it brought you here. Yeah. Yep, definitely. So that's what we're doing. School got canceled tomorrow already, and then I would guess that school's going to get canceled Thursday as well because more sleet. Actually, it's been thunder sleeting here. I don't know if anybody's experienced thunder sleet before, but it's exactly what it sounds like. It's like sleeting outside and there's thunder rumbling in the distance. It's really kind of epic. It's pretty cool. So it's been thunder sleeting, and it's supposed to thunder sleet more tomorrow. And it's not supposed to get above freezing, I think, until Thursday or Friday. So that's my world. We're trying to find ways to stay sane. Beltray is just finding as many opportunities as possible to snuggle. Here he is again. He is so happy. Say hi. Okay, so more about Beltray's journey. He has had ultrasounds this month. He's had an x-ray. He's had urine analysis. We were so worried that something was really wrong with him, but it turns out he's just stressed. He gets stressed sometimes. So we've been doing extra snuggles, and he seems to be more like himself now. Yep. G Hill has had thunder snow before. Yeah, kind of scary. Some people were saying that on the news. It's like kind of unnerving a little bit, like what is happening? Because it doesn't seem like thunder should be happening, but yeah, it can be kind of weird. Cincinnati can't decide if it's winter or spring lately. That's kind of how we get in like February, March. That probably March here. Thunder snow does sound like a Pokemon move, Mikey boy. Oh, we have so much Pokemon stuff at my house. And my daughter is a little entrepreneur and she tries to make a business out of everything every day. And she sets up little Pokemon stands outside and she advertises for it. She'll handwrite flyers and deliver them to our neighbors. And she has hours and she has little like place for the money and she packages everything. She's a little entrepreneur. Here, cat's laying on your stomach, little alien. Mikey boy, do you play? Hey Molly. Oh, thank you. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Bye. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Cat's lying on your stomach. I love how many pets are always like right next to everybody when I do sessions and group sessions and stuff. Cool. So, let's see. I was trying to think of some of the questions that y'all were asking me in the comments. Feel free to post questions here for me. It can be about autism, it can be about me, it can be about cats. One of the comments that came in was asking about the best jobs for autistic women. And that's a really good question. So, I will tell you a little bit about my thoughts there. Sorry. And then I'll suggest a few professions that have come up a lot in like different community groups. So I taught private flute lessons for a decade. And that it all kind of culminated in 2020 during the pandemic. Because that's also, I got my autism diagnosis professionally. Sorry, there was some comments about that earlier. I'm like, anyways, that's a topic for another day. Okay. In April of 2020. And so with all of that was going on in the world and that, I was also reconsidering my career. I was good at it, but I felt so stressed out all the time. And so what I came to learn is that as a flute teacher, I taught in 3 or 4 different school districts depending on the semester. So I would teach a couple of students. The lessons were only 25 minutes long in order to accommodate more students. And so I teach 25-minute lessons back to back to back, and then I go to a different campus, and I would do that back to back to back, and then I go to a different campus. Orion! Hey, friend. I forgot to respond to your message on Instagram, but thank you for sending me that information. What was I talking about? Okay, so I realized that for me, all of those transitions were really, really hard. And I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I think it's important for autistic people. Do you see his stomach? Like it goes like this. He's got a little pooch. I think it's important for autistic people to have a job where they can get in a flow state, like have a sustained period of attention where they can focus on one thing. And for me, constantly changing environments, that was so terrible for me. It was like I never felt like I could breathe because, we talk about, I've talked before on the channel about, sitting in the car whenever I get to a new place and just sitting there and being like, I don't know how to bridge the gap between where I am and where I need to be. And so doing that all day of just like, I'm in a new place and I don't know how to transition into this next new place because I still feel like I haven't recovered from the last new place. So this is a weird example because there's not a whole lot of jobs where you're going to transition from space to space to space throughout the day. But I would say it's important to have a job where you can intently focus on one thing that doesn't require much group work, like maybe you have a group that you can consult that would support you on your work, but not a big part of your job is actually working with groups. So a lot of solitary time, also good support, like having, if you're going to be employed by someone, having a supervisor who you can talk to and ask for accommodations. I know this can be really challenging, but I think especially as a late diagnosed autistic person, you're going to continue learning about yourself and your needs and learn about more things that would be helpful to you. And so just to be able to have a relationship with someone where you can share those things, and that's really important, right? And so I know that's kind of like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if I had a great supervisor? But that's really important for autistic people, especially. And then also sensory elements. So for me, in the practice rooms, which is where I would teach, there were tiny, tiny little fluorescent lit rooms, and they were never cleaned. Like, I feel like I need to give a trigger warning here. I won't go into detail, but I was an independent contractor, and I would be emailing cabin fever for real. I would be emailing the custodians at all of the school districts. Can we please clean this room? Can we please like tear down the carpet on the walls that's been there for 15 years that probably has mold in it? Like, it was fluorescent lit, smelled horrible. Yeah, I never felt like I could breathe while I was teaching flute, and that's literally my job. Like, I have taken hours and hours and hours and hours of learning how to breathe professionally, like no joke. Like, it's a part of being a professional musician, and I just couldn't breathe in all of these situations. So the sensory element of that was overwhelming. There was always sound all the time, which it's weird because I grew up in band, and in a way, like, it kind of becomes comforting because it's familiar and I've always been around it. Like, metronomes are comforting to me. Like, the incessant ticking of a metronome, I could have it on all day and it wouldn't bother me. So I've become accustomed to things like that. But the other thing, I don't even know, I'm sorry, like, if you're squeamish, like, just plug your ears for 10 seconds. But instruments, not flutes, but like brass, they have spit valves, and they release onto the floor and nobody ever cleans it. So, okay, you can listen now if you were plugging your ears. So lots of sensory elements. So being aware of what sensory elements are part of your job, like if you're going to be in a noisy environment, if you're going to have a private space, okay. A private space, I feel like, is really important for autistic individuals. Even just like having an office that you know is yours, because there's going to be periods throughout the day when you need to be in a space by yourself and know that other people aren't going to bother you. That's really important for self-regulation for autistic people. So I'm going to go back and get some comments in just a second, but some things. So to give you specific examples, if you're just joining us, we're talking about good help, good suggestions for jobs for autistic people. And one thing that comes up a lot when I'm working with the community groups and doing one-on-one sessions, software engineering. Okay, I would say probably, I know that's a bit stereotypical, but that is the number one job that comes up. There tends to be a lot of flexibility, a lot of work from home opportunities, not a ton of group work. I know that's going to vary from position to position. Also, there's another one that comes up a lot, working in libraries. I talk to a lot of librarians. Also, one of my favorite jobs ever, other than this, getting to be with y'all because I love y'all. When I was, my brain is opening a whole can of worms. In one of my videos, I said bag of worms, and I didn't catch it until I was editing it in a totally different outfit and whatever. Now that I've opened up that bag of worms. Okay, I grew up in the church, had a really traumatic experiences in my early 20s. And after that, that's where I worked originally, like youth pastor / church administrator for like our whole church. It was a small church, but I did like everything. And after that, I needed something that was so chill. I needed something that had no strings attached, that was over at the end of the day. Um, and what I ended up doing is I worked in a cupcake bakery. And I did the same thing over and over and over again, hundreds of times a day. I made cupcakes, hundreds of cupcakes. I scooped them into the pan over and over again. I frosted each cupcake. I put a topping on each cupcake. I cleaned all the pans. It was just very systematic, very rote, repetitive. It was the best thing in the entire world. And I've often thought too, like before I started investing in the channel and like this started growing, I'm like, maybe I just work at Amazon. Like we won't get into capitalism and all that right now, but just like the rote aspect of like an assembly line type structure. So I think those types of positions can be really helpful where you know exactly what is to be expected of you. There are clear expectations lined out for you, and then you can repeat those actions over and over and over again. So that's not going to work for everybody. We're all different, but I think those types of positions, and still to this day, like working in that cupcake bakery, it was so much fun. It was so therapeutic. I loved my job, and I still look back on that time with a lot of fondness. So that was the first question. Let me scroll up a little bit. Give me just a second. I need like do 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 do. I need waiting music. Oh, I went too far. Thunder snow. Mm, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Would you ever consider making a video or videos about your experiences with pregnancy and early motherhood? That is a really good question. Yes, I and other people have asked me that too. So my daughter, well, my youngest is 6, and being pregnant feels like 4 decades ago. So I have thought about this. I need to spend some time like going back and reflecting on that time. I am happy to talk about it. I just want to make sure, and especially I didn't have my diagnosis then. So I didn't experience that time in my life, like, understanding my needs very well. I just at that point, and kinda how I got through life up until my diagnosis is just pushing through and, head down, keep working, keep going forward at all cost. So yeah, it's on my list. I have a list on my phone of video ideas that is, like, 14 pages. Not really, but that one's on there several times, so I appreciate that suggestion, and I just wanna make sure that I can cover it well with clarity. So, okay, does it ever seem like burnout will never end? I have done many phases of burnout post-trauma in my life. Kristen Johnson. This one took the cake, and I've dealt with more trauma during, and I can't get my step back. Kristen, I understand that feeling. Um I'm laughing because how much I understand that and how it's just hard to talk publicly about this kind of stuff and personal experiences. Yes, it does feel that way, and I feel like there's seasons of life. It just that stupid phrase, "When it rains, it pours." Um, so I will tell you that what I want to allow in my life right now, and I'm trying to avoid words like trying or I need to or I'm doing. I just want to allow. Like, I'm at the point in my life where so many things have happened that it feels like, how can I put my foot in front, one foot in front of the other? And I keep thinking I need to try to rest. I need to try to do more to take care of myself. But I've tried all the things. And at some point, it just feels like all of the trying plays into the burnout, if that makes sense. Um, like, I just can't ever freaking shut my mind off and just let my body like be in the moment. So I really like reading the Tao Te Ching, which is Taoist literature. It's very peaceful, just finding presence in this moment. And one of the visuals that I really like that I think came from when I was reading these types of works is just stepping in the river and going with the flow. And I want to make sure that I clarify here this does not mean accept things that are happening to you that are not okay. This doesn't mean accept bullying, accept abuse, or anything like that. It doesn't mean that. Another way I've heard it say is like, in order to neutralize your feelings about the state of your life, you have to first accept the state that your life is in. And having a curiosity about it rather than any form of judgment, but just almost as if you could step outside of yourself and look at your life and say, okay, what is happening right now objectively? How has it affected me objectively? Getting curious about why these things have happened and how you ended up here, and accepting that this is where you are right now, and that can be extremely painful and overwhelming. But in order to change our circumstances, I think we first have to just be in the river, be like, where are you going, river? Like, it's that idea too of like, whatever we resist persists. So if we're fighting against something, no, I don't want to be burnout anymore. I need to work. I need to do all this. The things that we resist are going to keep persisting. So that's my very long-winded way to say, I feel you. I think this is, not to minimize this, but I think it's a common experience. I don't think you're alone in this. And I think that for me, learning how to, um, in each situation, what would it look like if this was easy? What's the next decision I can make, and what's the easiest decision that I can make for me? So this is part of a longer discussion, but I hope that perspective helps at all. But I'm sending good vibes your way, and I appreciate that question. Um, somebody played trumpet. Okay. Mary, what kind of engineering? I was talking about software engineering. And if anybody is looking for an intro software development course, check out She Codes. Okay, shecodes.io. It is an incredible program online. It's very affordable. If you message their customer support, they often give out scholarships. It's a really great way to, like, if you're considering a career in software development, it's a great way to dip your toe in and try out one portion of that and see how it fits your life. So shecodes.io, they run a lot of specials there. They also have a really cool program where they employ, or they offer free classes to women in third world countries. So that you might also check out, not all third world countries, but there's a growing list of countries that they provide free software development training for. I love She Codes, so check that out if that's interesting to you. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of autistic people work. There's like a whole cohort of librarians that I've stumbled upon that are autistic librarians, which is amazing. Um, Kristen was also a flute player. Yeah, it helped me fit in too, like just being a part of the band. You always have a family at school. Sue Ann says she can't work at a job that involves a lot of talking on the phone. No way. That's another good point. No way. If it's gonna, I don't know. I've heard of some autistic people working in customer service. Bless you. I don't know how you do it. Mikey Boy wants to do something that heavily involves their strong interests. Yeah. Pursuing your special interest, if you can make money off of it, yes. What's my favorite song? That's like asking which child is my favorite. Okay, so something weird. I kind of, unless I'm performing classical music, I don't really like listening to it, even though I was a classical music major, flute major. It's like there's so much happening that I can't do anything else if it's on. Like, if classical music is on, I need to be sitting in a chair and nobody needs to be talking, I think is what is happening here. I don't know why that's what came to mind. I love musicals. I love pop music. I am a basic white girl in a lot of ways, and I'm not ashamed about it. Um, when I read that, I thought of La La Land, not basic white girl, but well, maybe, I don't know, whatever. I love that soundtrack. That came to mind when you said that. I also love Singing in the Rain. That's my favorite movie ever. I also currently love Don't Judge Me. Sam Smith's new song, Unholy, Don't Judge Me. It's got a really fat beat. Okay. Bartending was a great job, is what Mary says. Only had to have a couple of 5-minute conversations. Good suggestion. Oh, I just saw a question and then it like jumped away. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Are there things you're doing as a parent that you hope will cut down on autistic trauma for your kids? Ooh, this is a good question. Thank you, Team K Productions. Okay. We were having a conversation in our parenting support group the other day, and we were talking about how sometimes with autistic kids, they will push back in a way that other parents wouldn't tolerate. Like earlier today, my son was having a meltdown. Again, we're all sharing this space. I don't know what they're doing right now. They're being quiet, so I'm just gonna enjoy it. But he was having a meltdown this morning in the kitchen, and he yells at me. And he is the sweetest, kindest boy ever. Like, he has no malice in his body, and he has so much love for everyone, but he like directs it in a negative way whenever he's in a meltdown, like towards me, and will like raise his voice. I'm trying to talk a little weirdly. So I think just in that moment, knowing this is not personal, this has nothing to do with my parenting skills. This has nothing to do with his character. Like, this is an autistic meltdown. I take it, it's not that I'm excusing bad behavior. This isn't bad behavior. This is him trying to find control when everything is spinning out of control. So I think for me, just being able to create that space and saying, this is not about me. This is not something that I need to correct in this moment. I don't need to tell him why he can't yell at me, right? That's just going to escalate everything. So I create space for him. When he was younger, I taught him how to take deep breaths, and we would breathe into our belly and like blow it out. Now that my kids are older, they really don't like it when I ask them to do that. They're like, they don't like to be. It's demand avoidance, I think we're working with here now. So, hi Beltray. What I think can also be helpful, and this can help adults too, is regulating yourself. And when you regulate yourself, it can actually regulate other people around you. So I will sit next to him. I won't say a word, and I will breathe deeply. And I won't say anything to him. I'll breathe deeply. I'll try to listen for parts of my body that are really tense, and I'll try to visualize my breath going to that spot in my body. If you're familiar with yoga at all, there's a breath called Ujjayi breath, which is like an ocean sound. So if it's kind of like if you breathe in and you exhale out of your mouth, if you try to do that type of exhale, but with your mouth closed, you feel a slight constriction in the back of your throat. And it's like this, it's an audible exhale. That Ujjayi breath is really, really calming and comforting. I haven't studied it, but I would not be surprised if that stimulates your vagus nerve, which is a very regulatory nerve in your body. So I just try to create space for those meltdowns and know that this isn't anything personal. And also, I would say that I allow for plenty of time for delayed processing. So with my kids, I usually don't address meltdown behaviors until we're clearly on the other side of it. Maybe that evening, like, hey, earlier, I give them words, I give them language. That was a meltdown. Your brain was feeling overwhelmed. And then I ask them questions. Were things too loud? Were you upset about the decisions you had to make? I have a conversation with them later and ask them questions and try to figure out maybe what triggered that. So now my 6-year-old, he can tell me in the middle of a meltdown. He'll say, "It's just a meltdown, Mom. I'm so sorry." Because he'll like lash out and yell, and then he'll say, "I'm having a meltdown," which is pretty incredible to see a 6-year-old do. So I think giving kids the language to know what's going on. This is sensory overwhelm. This is a meltdown. And doing so in their timing. So whenever they have the mental capacity to understand that. So those are a couple things that came to mind right now. Really good question. Let me see what else I can find here. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Cat Not in the Hat. That's a very kind comment. Okay. Hello, sweetie. No, sweetie, she doesn't want me to call her sweetie anymore. No. And she and her friends don't have play dates anymore. They have hangouts. Yeah, y'all can play. Okay, I want to watch Bake Squad later. Okay. Oh no, the comments skipped again. Okay. Tips for inertia. Oh, decision fatigue. Okay. The ADHD side of my brain is winning a little bit today. It's hard to navigate all the comments. Okay. So autistic inertia, this kind of plays into the transitions that we were talking about earlier. Transitions can be hard to navigate as a person on the spectrum. Autistic inertia is kind of a buzzword in the community right now, but it's this concept of once you start something, it's really hard to stop doing it. So let's imagine you're researching. Somebody said something in a commercial and you're like, I don't know what that is. I want to know all about it. And then you go down the autistic rabbit hole of research and you're researching, and then your partner says, hey, I want to talk to you about something, and you don't hear anything they say because you are in the zone, right? It's also the concept of it being really hard to start something from a place of not doing that thing. So getting out of bed in the morning and just laying there and not knowing how to take the next step, right? So that autistic inertia, it can be, yes, everyone struggles with inertia stuff, right? I don't want to get out of bed, right? Or I really want to keep playing video games. Like the common, not just autistic people have these experiences, but ours are compounded by demand avoidance, sensory overwhelm, social confusion, delayed processing, to where it really becomes a problem that can affect our productivity, it can affect our jobs, it can affect our relationships. So some tips for, and let me pull up my slideshow real quick. So I run a class on autistic inertia, bring up some of the points that I have in my slideshow, and I'll be making downloadable classes this year. The first one I'm working on is, shameless plug, how to unmask cultivating your true autistic self. That's the first one I'm developing, probably followed closely by autistic inertia and demand avoidance. Okay, so here are some tips that we talk about. Keeping a predictable routine whenever possible. I know it's not always possible. Addressing sensory issues that stand in the way. So if there's a task that you need to do, what sensory elements are standing in the way? Is the fan bothering you because it's too cold? Go turn it off. If you need to be in comfortable clothing can solve so many problems. Like a lot of times, maybe it's not the fact that you don't want to do what you have to do. Maybe you're just uncomfortable and you haven't quite registered it yet. So comfortable clothing, make sure that you've eaten, make sure that you're staying hydrated, move your body. There's also this concept that other people have taught me called body doubling. Body doubling is having someone else do or move with you. So if you're on the couch, you can ask your partner, hey, will you go in the kitchen with me? I need to start making dinner. And just having that movement of somebody else going that direction with you, that can really be helpful. Same thing for getting ready for bed. Hey, can you come get ready for, or can you come, I need to brush my teeth. Will you come back in the bedroom and get ready for bed with me? Those types of things can be helpful. I thought body doubling was really interesting. Identifying what the problem is. So I think a lot of times we might just feel overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, right? Why? Like what is overwhelming you? You don't want to reply to that email. Why? Well, the last interaction we had was kind of awkward. I felt weird about something that I said. Kind of thinking through it. How could you approach the situation differently, right? So not just keeping that thought of I'm overwhelmed, but like identifying what the actual problem is so that you can form a solution. And the solution doesn't have to be this full-fledged, I figured every part of this out, but I think especially with autistic inertia, figuring out one step, right? So I think another commonality among us on the spectrum, like we like to have everything figured out and planned before we do it. We want to know all the things, but especially when you're struggling with autistic inertia, sometimes just having the very first next step is all you need. So if you're in bed, my very next step is going to be to put both my feet on the ground. And then once I have both my feet on the ground, my very next step is going to be to put my slippers on. And so breaking it down into small little chunks like that can be really helpful. And I have more tips as part of my class. I'm going to switch to a different topic, but that was a good question. What are your, I guess, opinions on the show Love on the Spectrum? I watched the first season, and it's been a while. In hindsight, I feel like I remember thinking that it felt a bit, what's the word? Is it exploitative? Exploit that word. But I also am biased. And then I think Orion, he did a video on how they're not compensating people for being on the show. So I don't know. I don't feel like I'm a great person to talk about it because my memory of it's like in the past. It was years ago when I watched it. And I haven't seen it recently. Okay. So many good questions. Oh, that's helpful if you put like question in all caps. That's helpful. I love Anna's giving these breathing tips too. That's great. This is such a cool community. People ask me, is it hard dealing with all the haters? There's not many. Y'all are so wonderful. The autistic community in general is one of the most accepting, loving communities I've ever been a part of. I can't like talk about it because I get emotional, y'all. Y'all are just so amazing. And there's something about the autistic community. It's like there's a loyalty and there's an integrity and this desire for people not to be messed with, and just sticking up for other people. And I love it. I just can't believe I lived so much of my life without y'all. So, Passaggio Olivello. Hey, boss. Okay. Jessica says, have you come across the connection between being a super taster and autism? I have other sensory issues, but I tend to lean into the taste sense. I love food and I love taste and textures. It doesn't surprise me at all. I get a lot of comments every day. I feel like I've seen this pop up once or twice, but I think it absolutely makes sense because with being on the spectrum, let's take touch, for example. I've definitely seen this. Some people want really, really deep pressure and touch. And some people don't want that at all. Like some people want no touch. Um, so some people might want lighter touch. So I think that's less tends to be less common because that usually is pretty upsetting to people now that I think about it. But there's all different variations and expressions of how we experience things through our senses. And with it being a spectrum, I think absolutely there could be a connection there. There's a lot of other sensory connections with autism. Like I think it's more common for people to have, synesthesia. Oh gosh, it's always weird talking live because I'm like, do I know enough to talk about this? Synesthesia, I think y'all help me out. It's like being able to like your body creates pictures out of things or like you taste, smell. It's like your senses just kind of like overlap. I don't know. I don't know enough to talk about it. Okay. Dana says, if only I could get paid to research. Isn't it fun to research? There's so many of us who love researching. And I get thrown off my day so many times because I'm like, I don't know why I need to research like what's behind this wall. Like what does it look like behind this wall in my house? Just random things and like how they make that and like what's the process between like putting the lumber up and the insulation. I get derailed all the time because I'm like, I just need to know about how this works. Annie, is it true that autism and ADHD can almost balance each other out? Then would it make sense that I don't qualify as ADHD in online quizzes, but could actually be ADHD? What does ADHD feel like? Okay. Welcome to the chat. I don't think that they cancel each other out, but they can be quite paradoxical. And I talk a lot about this in one of my videos on the channel. Where did it go? Where did your comment go? It can be quite paradoxical. And in my video, I actually found a really cool Instagram post that talks about the paradoxes of ADHD and autism. And so it's kind of like sometimes one rears its head and the other one rears its head at other times. I don't think it would. I think as I've come to better understand each of them, it has helped me to more accurately answer questions on online quizzes and tests. Could it actually be ADHD? I mean, I don't know anything about your experiences. Um, and I think today, just because I don't have the words for it and I don't want to lead you astray, I'm just going to recommend that maybe you check out my ADHD and autism video because at the time I was doing a lot of research on that and I would feel better about sending you there than speaking extemporaneously right now. Paz, I hope you feel better. I'm sorry you're sick. Okay, delayed processing. MV says delayed processing. Could you explain more about this? Like I notice when I'm told some bad personal news, I can't let go of it. It takes up a lot of time. Uncertainty can change my actions that day. Delayed processing. Somebody said this in a group one time that a lot of times the response that you give to a question, or let's say somebody brings a situation to you, your first response, somebody said this, their first response is not their true response. It's not that it's a lie, but it's like you'll figure out what you really wanted to say later. So like whenever you have time to yourself where you can process by yourself and really think about the implications of the situation away from where you feel like there's social pressure to appear a certain way or respond with a certain tone of voice. So delayed processing, I think it happens for a number of reasons and it can happen with anything. First of all, we won't get too far into it because this is a live and I don't want to trigger anybody. But unfortunately, it's more common for people on the spectrum to experience abuse and trauma. And part of experiencing abuse and trauma is learning how to shut off your bodily feedback. Because in that moment, you had to survive. And it helped you in that time. But then we carry those coping strategies throughout life where we shut down our body's feedback in order to do what's asked of us in the moment. So I notice that a lot of people on the spectrum tend to spend a lot of time in their brains where, we're trying to figure out almost like a chess game all the time throughout the day. Where do I need to be? What do I need to say? Who do I need to look at? Where do my eyes need to be? Why am I upset? When was the last time I ate? Trying to figure all this stuff out at the detriment of our bodies, right? So our bodies might be speaking to us and telling us that we're upset. Our stomach might be clenched. Our hands might be clenched. Our neck might be tight. So I think with delayed processing, I think it can take us a little bit longer to cue into what our body's actually saying to us. Um, and just integrating our sensory experience, I think, is something that, I can't speak for autistic people, non autistic people, but it just seems like the length of time it takes for us with sensory integration, it's different than it is for other people. So, and then when you're saying, like, when you're told bad personal news, you can't let go of it. I think some of that too is like what I was talking, just like with integrity and honesty, and when something upsetting happens in your life that like affects people that you care about, it can just have a really long lasting effect. Like things aren't right, and I think things being right and full of integrity and like well-being and like support, when that structure goes away, it can be really upsetting. So I don't know, my brain kind of just like just like Kramered right there. So I'm just gonna, anybody like Seinfeld, I'm just gonna keep going, but that was a good question. Why is your name green? Oh, I think their names are green because they are channel members. Oh yeah, she already said that. Okay. And I appreciate that so much, channel members. Thank you so, so much. Okay, y'all already had this conversation. Okay. Um, do you ever struggle to find meaning in your work and daily tasks? Hmm. I think about meaning. Do I? My brain is do you ever think not in words, but just like in connections? Like, I don't know how to say it. It's like I'll have a concept in my brain that touches 6 different areas that I wanna talk about, and it's like I understand it, but putting it into words is challenging. Um, I find a lot of meaning in being present. Like, I'm a self-help queen. I've read everything out there. Um, I also love studying, like, Buddhist principles, Taoist principles. I'm always worried I'm saying that wrong. To me, it all comes back to being in this present moment, like, as fully present as I can possibly be. And that means we were just talking about our senses. What am I seeing? Like, who's in front of me? What do I hear? What do I feel? When you're in the present moment and you're taking in through your information through your senses, this keeps you from being in the past where you're worried about something that you just said or did and you're replaying it over and over again. It keeps you out of the future from being worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, because when you're in the present moment, you're you're not, that's why it's the present moment. You're not in the future or the past. So all that to say, I think for me, that's what brings meaning to my life. Like if I can show up in this present moment, there's always meaning here. There's always meaning in this present moment. And yeah, it's just always beautiful, even if it's painful and hard. It's much better to be present with it than to be stuck and not alive. That was heavy. Hi Jason, I'm glad you're here. Oh my gosh, I was reading a comment and then it just shot like way down. Okay. Hi, Echo the Tastic Gecko. We'll finish up here in just a second. Yeah, Daniel, I think you're talking about like I don't really think in pictures, which is interesting because Temple Grandin has that book. I think it's called Thinking in Pictures, something like that. Don't quote me. Um, I my experience is different than hers. I don't really think in pictures. It's like I don't even know how to put it into words. I don't think I can. It's like an understanding. Like I think in blocks of understanding. And then I have to figure out how to put those blocks of understanding into words. I don't know how else to say it. Oh, Kristen, the fourth dimension, when you can't see the words, but you see the path. Echo, do I meditate? If so, how often? Okay, I have a love, I don't want to say love hate. I have a love frustration relationship with meditation. I think it has been really hard for my neurotype to meditate in the ways that traditional meditation is presented. Um, I think meditation has been very helpful for me in my life. I have a meditation cushion that's really beautiful that I love. When I can just detach from any like meditation isn't supposed to be productive, right? It's supposed to be how do you define meditation? It's an opportunity to connect with yourself. And so I think keeping that in mind, I've had to expand my definition of what meditation looks like. Um, sometimes I've even kept a notepad beside me just to catch things in my brain. Because, I'm sure many of you can understand this. Like, I'll have a thought and I'm like, I'm never going to remember this again. I have to remember right now. Why am I meditating? I need to write this down. So I'll just keep a pad beside me and I'll write it down if there's something I feel like I need to remember and then I'll refocus. Also stimming during meditation can be really helpful, like not being still, but like rocking or moving my hands. That can actually be very like the repetitive motion of that can actually, I think, enhance meditation. So at this point in my life right now, I have not been regularly meditating. This season has been really hard for me, and it's hard for me to sit and do that right now. I have, like I said at the beginning, I've been doing yoga with Adrienne's 30-day practice, which everybody like this is not I'm not affiliated with her, but she's changed my life. It's a free yoga channel called Yoga with Adrienne, and every year she has a completely free 30-day, like you don't even have to put an email address in. It's just on YouTube. And there's 30 days of free yoga. And I promise you, if you do the program, it will enhance your life. And I think in being present with those yoga practices, and this is another thing too, if you can do the first day of yoga practices, even if you're a newbie, you can do the last day. Like they're all so accessible. She's one of the most embodied teachers that I've ever learned from. Um, so all that to say, I think that being present in a yoga practice can also be very meditative as well. Ooh, Mary says being present is their superpower. I need to like get some vibes from you. Something that being present is a practice for me. Um, Mary says they also do muscle clench and release when they need to get present. That's a really great embodiment exercise. So if you're laying in bed, you can start. There's even guided meditations like this on YouTube. You can just like body tensing meditation. I don't know what it's called, but you start at your feet. Okay, clench your feet, get them as tight as you can, and then release. Clench your legs, clench your knees, get them as tight as you can, breathe, and then release. Clench your butt as tight as you can, and then release. And so what this does is it kind of it brings this awareness to each part of your body. And then when you intentionally relax it, you can usually find more space within each of those releases that just helps you feel more centered. It's a really great practice. Okay, hang on. I see a comment over here. Kira, the Tao of Pooh and the Tay of Piglet. Okay, this is serendipitous. I had a friend send that to my doorstep last night. That's weird. So I just started reading it. Yeah, that's great. Oh, okay, Claire. It's nice to put two and two together. Cool, it's snowing in Pennsylvania. Yes, you spelled her name right. One N. You'll go with Adrian. Jax, hey. I didn't see any other. I don't know when you showed up, but hello. Progressive muscle relaxation. I knew somebody would. Yes, thank you. I knew somebody would know what that was called. Thank you, Jax. More people for the Tao of Pooh and the Tay of Piglet. Well, this is great. I tried my best to get to all the comments. I may have missed some because the chat kept skipping around. But this is actually pretty perfect timing because we've been together for about an hour now. So I just wanted to check in with everybody. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get a video out this week just because I think school might stay canceled through Friday. So this has been a miracle that I've had an hour to talk with you while my children are being quiet. So, but if you haven't already checked out the uneven productivity video, I've got a part 2 out. Okay, so a lot of you watch part 1, but there's part 2 out. And then also a recent one I did that seemed to go over really well is autism and sleep disturbances. I really enjoyed doing that one. Sounds weird, but I liked that video. And then, like I said, I'm working on a course that I'm really excited about, how to unmask cultivating your true autistic self. And it's going to be a series of like 10 videos. What is masking? How is autistic masking different? Why do we mask? Is it safe to unmask? Do we need to unmask? And then how to unmask safely in a way that like supports you and helps you cultivate yourself. So it's gonna be that, and I'm gonna have a guided meditation that I'm gonna do that you'll be able to replay and listen to whenever. And then I've already made this like journaling book to go with all of it. So it's like self-led, self-paced exercises that you can work through for learning how to unmask and how to figure out more of who you are. Oh, thank you, Team K Productions. That's very sweet. Thank you for your gift. I appreciate that. So that's coming up, and I've still got the community groups going. They're a bit of a different format this year. So we've got support groups, which is just an open forum kind of for a small group of people, usually 10 people. I've got a general autism support group, a parent support group, and a neurodiverse relationship support group. And each of the support groups comes with a year of access to my online community. So it's kind of like a private Facebook group, but it's not Facebook. It's a much cleaner, like private space that I'm really enjoying. It's like very intimate. People share a lot of really great things there. So we've got the support groups, and then I also have like the learn and discuss groups. So I think the ones I've got that I'm enrolling right now are Autistic Inertia and Demand Avoidance. And then I have masking groups coming up in March. And then I have a webinar. What is the webinar over? I think meltdowns. But you can check them out at momonthespectrum.life/community. Hang on. Slash. Yep, that's it. momonthespectrum.life/community. And those groups are so great. I love them so much. And it's a great opportunity to connect with other people and learn from other people. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not very good at wrapping things up because I really like talking to everybody. So I just want to say thanks for being here. Thanks for caring about this community and for being kind and just genuinely nice people. So everybody take care with all the weird weather out there. And I guess I will see y'all next time. So thank you so much. Bye. I don't want to say bye, but bye.